Today on Bridge City News, a new policy from Canada's Border Security Agency requiring officers working with detained migrants to wear defensive gear, including pepper spray, is drawing criticism over its perceived criminalization of asylum seekers. More demonstrations in Hong Kong as police used pepper spray and batons to disperse thousands marching in the streets against traders from mainland China. And France celebrated its annual Bastille Day with a military-style parade, but the crowd was most excited about a French invention, a flyboard device that was on vivid display.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Paul Arthur.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. The Lethbridge AAA Bison's boys baseball team had a great weekend, finishing undefeated in the Intermediate Little League Provincial Championships, which were held in Lethbridge. They will now travel to Langley, BC for the National Championship next weekend. The team has set up a GoFundMe page to help the boys cover some of their travel costs. If Lethbridge should win, they will have the opportunity to compete in the Little League World Series in Livermore, California at the end of July. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the only way to get projects like the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion built is by finding compromise between growing the economy and protecting the environment. Trudeau spoke yesterday at a reception for Liberal Party donors at the Calgary Stampede, where he had fewer public appearances than in past years.
All Albertans understand, which is, yes, we need jobs and growth right now, but we also need to make sure we're building a better future for our kids, and that means taking care of the environment at the same time. The support for the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, now that we've brought in the Historic Oceans Protection Plan, now that we're moving forward on reducing the noise for the southern resident killer whale pod, that we're partnering with Indigenous peoples, that we're talking about the profits from Trans Mountain being poured into green energy solutions for the future. These are the things that make people say, okay, it's part of a bigger plan as we move forward into building a new economy that will support our workers today and support their kids and grandkids tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. That's what we're doing.
The leader of the People's Party of Canada is also stumping for votes in southern Alberta by attacking Conservative leader Andrew Scheer. Maxime Bernier made a stop in Medicine Hat yesterday to rally support ahead of the fall election. Today he visited the Calgary Stampede. He says his party is the true party for real Conservatives and the only one that is willing to take a hard look at equalization payments. Prominent Montreal area labor lawyer James Duggan has been identified as one of the 3 men killed in Friday's float plane crash in northern Quebec. Duggan was instrumental in the battle to unionize RCMP officers and spearheaded a class action lawsuit on behalf of officers alleging harassment on the job. He was traveling with 3 friends on a fishing trip. One survived, but 69-year-old Jacques Bissonnette and 77-year-old Claude Laplante also lost their lives. The Nova Scotia Health Authority says Mosquittabit Valley Memorial Hospital's emergency center will be closed on Monday due to a lack of doctors. The authority says the emergency center will reopen on Tuesday, and until then, people in need of urgent medical care should call 911. For non-emergency situations, people are being advised to contact their family doctor. This is the second time in a matter of days that the hospital's emergency department has been shut down. It was closed on Friday for the same reason. The Ontario legislature will introduce airport-style security next year, becoming one of the last provinces to start making all visitors pass through metal detectors. Currently, visitors to Queen's Park can enter through several doors that are staffed by legislative security officers and must present government-issued ID, but they only have to go through a metal detector and have their bags scanned to get into the public galleries of the chamber. That will change next year when construction will begin on a visitor screening center with metal detectors and X-ray scanners for bags. A new policy from Canada's Border Security Agency is drawing concern over its perceived criminalization of asylum seekers. The CBSA is requiring officers working with detained migrants to wear defensive gear, including soft body armor and steel-toed boots. The policy is contained in a briefing note obtained by the Canadian press through Access to Information Law. A group of doctors, lawyers, legal scholars, and human rights groups is urging Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale to cancel the policy. Family and friends of a Somali Canadian journalist who was killed in a terrorist attack this weekend are remembering her work redefining the global Somali identity. Hoden Naleya and her husband were among at least 26 people killed in Friday's attack at a hotel in the port city of Kismayo. Naleya moved back to Somalia last year in an effort to tell positive stories of her home country. Islamic extremists Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the attack, but Abdullahi Mohammed Hersi, a presidential candidate, says political questions around the incident need to be answered.
We are very suspicious about the act, which coincided during the peak of election campaign, where everybody is preparing for the campaign, the election day, and the president, the incumbent president, is not happy about the process, and maybe we are not sure whether he is involved or not. But we are saying we want and we demand a full investigation about the whole incident and what caused and how the group infiltrated at the center of the town, and we want a full explanation about that.
Global Affairs Canada says a Canadian citizen has been detained in Yantai, China, but few other details are available. The department says officials have provided consular services to the person in custody, but it can't release any further information under the Privacy Act. It's not clear whether the detention is related to the arrests of 7 foreign teachers and 9 foreign students on drug allegations in eastern China. The city where those arrests reportedly took place is about 600 kilometers from Yantai, where the Canadian was detained. Flights are arriving and departing again at the New Orleans airport as Hurricane Barry moves north away from the city. Louis Armstrong International said in a statement today that most airlines are returning to normal operations, although it is advising travelers to arrive early. Barry's winds have weakened slightly, but the risks associated with the storm, including flooding and tornadoes, are sparking new concerns. The system is expected to move over Arkansas overnight and into Monday. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents today started cracking down on immigrants who have been ordered to leave the country, conducting raids in 10 cities across the nation. But London Breed, San Francisco's mayor, vows that her city will continue as a sanctuary city.
We are in this together. We will continue to stand behind our immigrant communities, and we will make it through together.
Today, ICE's operations are a lot more covert. They conduct extensive surveillance and wait outside of people's homes and wait for them to come out or to let people open the door and let them inside and then conduct collateral arrests. And that is why people need to be prepared and know that they do not have to open the door. They do not have to let ICE officers inside. They do not have to give any information other than their name if they are arrested.
We are all unfortunately here because Donald Trump has decided to continue to wage his war against our immigrant communities, a war that is immoral, unjust, racist, and xenophobic for his political gain, with the announcement of raids that are meant deliberately to sow fear within our communities.
Officials in the Trump administration are defending the crackdown. Acting Immigration Services Director Ken Cuccinelli says it's odd to see all the attention being placed on what he calls regular actions by ICE agents who are simply doing their jobs. French President Emmanuel Macron has overseen France's annual Bastille Day celebration, including a military parade in Paris. The display included thousands of troops and dozens of aircraft, but its biggest crowd pleaser was a man rocketing through the air on a flyboard device, the invention of a French former jet skiing champion. The flyboard can travel at speeds of up to 190 kilometers per hour. You have to admit, that is super cool. Police used pepper spray and batons to disperse several thousand people marching in the streets of Hong Kong against traders from mainland China. Major demonstrations in the past month against extradition legislation that would allow Hong Kong suspects to stand trial in mainland China have reawakened other movements in the city. Protesters say Hong Kong's government, led by a non-democratically elected chief executive, is not addressing the people's concerns. At least 43 people are dead and 24 missing after heavy rain in Nepal triggered landslides and caused flooding. More deaths have been reported across the Himalayan border in India. Officials in northeastern India say at least a dozen people have been killed and more than 1 million affected by the flooding and mudslides. Recapping one of our top stories this hour, a new policy from Canada's Border Security Agency requiring officers working with detained migrants to wear defensive gear, including pepper spray, is drawing criticism over its perceived criminalization of asylum seekers. And a look at weekend weather. The warm weather continues. Clear skies overnight with a low near 10. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud with a southwest wind gusting from 30 to 50 and a high of 27. The loss of a young child is every parent's nightmare. Ashley and Luke Cato are parents who experienced the tragic drowning death of their 3-year-old son. They are now helping other parents who are dealing with grief. Hal Roberts has this touching interview next. But first, here's a look at what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News Community Calendar. Looking for a fun summer activity for your kids? Roar, Life is Wild, God is Good Vacation Bible School is taking place July 29th to August 2nd from 9 a.m. to noon at the Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd in Lethbridge for ages 4 to 11 at no cost. To register and for more details, go to LutheranChurchoftheGoodShepherd.com or call 403-328-3445. And that's your Bridge City News Community Calendar.